And we are live. Yay! I am Jean
Yay!
Berry. Yay! I am your game inventor mentor, and I'm here today with the amazing and fabulous Mel Jolly. I met Mel actually not that long ago on a Kajabi webinar, and I saw, you know how you're in this big group and you see those big rack of people on the whole list, and there's all these people, and you're like, oh, I like her energy. I like her energy. And we're like, cool, we're going to do that. We're going to hang out here. And this is where I want to be. And so we connected. We had an opportunity to chat a couple times. And I really love what Mel is doing on the planet. She is an expert at helping authors stay out of the loony bin, as she says, which I think is really funny. And yet, it's incredibly true. And so I'm excited to introduce Mel Jolly to you. And because I know that she's not only for authors, she's for anyone who's creating any physical product, because it's a really similar process. So with great excitement, I introduce you to Mel Jolly. Hey, Mel, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me. And you're totally right. On that Kajabi call, we were like, oh, I really like her. And I can't remember which one of us messaged the other first. It was in my notes. It said, connect with Jean. She seems cool.
Love that. Well, do you want to tell our watchers a little bit about you and what you do?
Absolutely. So I have been working with authors and creative entrepreneurs for a decade now, which is pretty exciting. It's kind of flown by, but at the same time also feels like a really long time. But I started out just doing some assisting work and then moved into helping authors with their marketing and helping them reach more readers, and then also added coaching. And I created a class called Unlock Your 5-Star Future. And in that class and in all my free videos and my courses, and I told you before we got on the call, I'm working on a workshop right now for a conference. In all my teaching, I feel like my real gift is helping people take the dream and turn it into reality, because we some of us are so good at dreaming, right? And we're so good at like wanting to do the product and wanting to write the book, and for me, wanting to do the TED Talk. And we're great at visualizing and dreaming. And then sometimes when it comes time to do the work, it's like, ooh, squirrel. Oh, but I should do this and I should do that. And we have so many dreams that it's difficult to focus on one and be productive. So I really take what is like exciting and like in your ideal future and help you figure out, okay, well, how do I actually do the work? Because we know the work is good.
Okay, that has never ever happened to me. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So to all of us.
Exactly. And I want to welcome our viewers today. We have a few people coming on live now. If you are here live, if you will just say, hey, I'm here, give us a little feedback, and we will have some time to actually ask Mel some questions as well as they pop up for you, so you can also share those right in the chat if there are questions that you have as we talk about marketing for your physical products. And we'll talk some about books. We'll talk about bringing dreams to reality. This is really the thing, right? Because I think we do all dream. We all hold that space of, I see this, I can see this coming forward, and then we'll be like, but how do I do that, right? How do I make that happen? So hey, we have Beth, Lois, Karen, yay! So glad you're all here today. And yes, it's so good to see you too. I'm really glad to be able to have these conversations and talk more deeply about what it is that takes things to the next level. So tell us, hey Laura, glad to have you here too. So Mel, tell us how it is that you got started working with authors. You mentioned that you worked for some of them. How did you get into this world? Like how did that start?
Well, you know how serendipitous life can be, and one little thing can lead to the next, and that's exactly how this happened. I was working at the public library, and I worked in the young adult department, and I did an outreach program to a juvenile detention center. And I would go to the juvenile jail, and I would take books, and I was the book lady, and I'd hand out prizes for reading. I was talking about that on a forum that a lot of the librarians used, and an author was there, and she said, "Hey, Mel, I would love to come to the detention center and talk to the kids totally for free." And I was like, well, I'm not going to say no to that. Sure. And she and I became friends, and as she became more and more popular, she started having too much to do, because when you're an author, you're creative, but you're also an entrepreneur, right? This is the case for most creatives. You have something beautiful that you do, and some art that takes some piece of your soul that you have to create, which is going to involve like a certain amount of space in your brain and a certain amount of time, and then you can't take care of all the entrepreneurial stuff. So she came to me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to help me out?" And I said, "Sure." And then she told her friends about me, and I got more and more clients, and the next thing I knew was my full-time gig.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And I do love how we kind of flow into the things that we're naturally incredibly good at. And it's so wonderful when someone else points it out, right? Say, "Hey, you can do that." Will you come to help me with that? That's beautiful. So what would you say is the number one thing that those creatives really needed from you? Like what was the thing that they're all like wigged out about and like, "I can't do this"?
Well, it took me a little while to figure this out, but I actually realized what I was helping them all do was control overwhelm. I thought that I was initially, that I was hired to do marketing, or I was hired to, help them with this administrative task. But really, when I started looking at the big picture and how we work together as a team, and how I would go to them with reminders and with advance notice, and I would say, "Hey, just checking in, you have XYZ due soon, just want to make sure that it's on your radar and that you're going to take care of that." Or it would be, "Hey, just checking in, I wanted to let you know that I added your new books to your website." Or, "Hey, I was thinking, it's probably time to update your bio." But really, what I was doing was controlling the big picture and managing it in a way that allowed them to feel more in control. And when you feel more in control, you get to feel more creative, because your brain's not like, "Hey, don't forget. Hey, don't forget. Don't forget. Oh my gosh, we're so far behind." Not that anybody ever feels that way.
Never happened. That's right. Never. Okay, so you said a couple things here, and I want to reflect those back to kind of some of the people that are watching here too. Is first of all, I'm curious if this is, as a creative, if you relate to this. Like, is this something that you're like, "Oh yeah, I kind of get in my head, and all these things keep me from doing anything." Like there's these spots where we're like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen, and this is not going to happen. And when am I going to write, or when am I going to create, or when, as if you're working with me on a deck, when am I going to, do the things to get my deck in order, or, like, when are all those things going to happen, when I need to do all this building buzz and connecting and making relationships and all those kind of things." So that is one piece. Hey, Joanne, thanks for popping on. So I'm curious if you ever feel that overwhelm or need to be in control of every little piece. So let us know about that. And then secondly, you said something about what you discovered, what you really did. And I think that's a really huge point when we start to talk about marketing. What is it you really are doing here? And for you to discover, "Oh no, what I'm really doing is controlling overwhelm." And I think when I actually wrote down the first time that we talked, is I wrote a little heart, and I wrote something about me. Usually I'm writing, notes about you, and I write me. I help people find certainty. So there's something about what you do that when you're in the space, people get what they do, right? They get this clarity that, what is it that I'm doing on the planet? So this is the second question that I have for our viewers is, what is it that you really do for the people you serve? What is it you really do? What is the thing that they're craving that they'll say, this is what I need from you? Do you know? And maybe you don't know. So if you don't know, that's okay. Say, I have no idea. I'm still figuring it out. So yes, we have Laura saying, yes, so many things that inertia sets into. Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. That's one of the biggest problems. We have fight, flight, or freeze, right? And when we get overwhelmed, our stress response kicks in, and for a lot of us, that means freeze.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start, so I'm just going to start by lying on my floor. Oh, I live on my floor now. Look at that. I hope my husband will bring me a sandwich.
It's nice during quarantine that we have some people to bring us, treats when we're laying on the floor.
It is.
Beautiful. Lois says, LOL, do you need to ask? Yes, I know, Lois. And then she says, I love how others can pinpoint how I am. Yes, it's true. You're hanging out here because we understand you, because we're creatives too. Ultimately, being creatives has us know what the road is. Like, we get it. We've been here.
A lot of times people will say, how are you inside my head? How do you know? Because a lot of times one of my gifts is I can pinpoint the thoughts that people are having, which, going back to figuring out that what I actually did was help control overwhelm. Well, the reason I'm inside your head is because that's what's happened inside my head.
Exactly. All right, so Beth says her superpower is creating connection and insight. And I can say, yes, Beth, you do that really well. You do connect people to the resources and things and people and ideas that is really, going to open up their world. That's really beautiful. And insight. Yeah, so Beth, I always talk about Beth whenever she's on a call because she's creating so many things at the same time. And I can see how it would feel overwhelming, but she does it with incredible grace. And so she's got 9 projects going. Well, actually, I think 12 actually going at the same time, but there's a lot of things going on in there. So yes, finding those sweet little spaces where we know with certainty what it is we do on the planet, because then that leads to this kind of marketing message. Isn't that kind of what you found, is that the reason we struggle with the marketing message is because we're kind of all over the place, and we know what we do for ourselves, but we don't necessarily know what we do for everyone else and what they're wanting from us.
Yes, that's exactly. One of the things that I do, and the reason that it may not seem like coaching and controlling overwhelm really goes with email marketing, but you tied it together exactly right, which is both things are about how you are serving others and what you're bringing to the planet and what it is that makes you special. Because when people tell me they don't know what to say in their newsletter, it's because they don't know what they're about. They don't know what their message is. They don't know how they're serving, or even that they are serving the planet. So sometimes my first job is convincing them that your words matter. What you're doing, what you're creating, your art matters, and it helps people. What's your message? And so when we do that, when we clarify what they're about and how they're impacting people and how they want to intentionally impact people, that's where the message comes from. That's where the freebies, the lead magnets come from. That's where the content for the newsletter, and then ultimately the things they sell. It all comes from knowing what your intention is.
Right. Okay, so Lois says, my superpower is connecting to our spirit helpers. She has an incredible skill at both channeling those spirit helpers and then drawing, painting, and delivering them in a physical form too, which is pretty amazing.
Awesome.
And Joanne says, my superpower is spreading joy. And she creates, I know, and she creates these really cool, fun characters that spread joy, pretty much. They have beautiful messages and that kind of thing. So if we were to kind of workshop that a little bit for just a second and say, what is it? I know when you mentioned to me one time that when you work with authors, especially something that feels like a whole book. It's all done. Like this whole thing is done. How do we pick up a little piece of that so that we can write about it in a newsletter, or not give it all away inside of our marketing, because we actually have something to sell.
Right. Well, just like with all sales, what you're selling is the solution to a problem, right? So if somebody's problem is that they can't finish the book, then I can sell them my finish the book coaching package, because that solves that problem, right? Your book, your art is solving some kind of problem. So if we're specifically talking about the book, it's solving a problem. Maybe they're bored. Maybe your potential reader is sad. Maybe they need an escape. If we're talking about fiction, maybe they need an escape. If we're talking about nonfiction, maybe you're going to teach something and they need that problem solved. So if you distill down what problem it is you're solving, if it's entertainment, then you need to know in what way the book entertains. And in the fiction world, there's a lot of language around this that is common vernacular as far as sales are concerned. So like in the romance space, there's a lot of different ways to describe the book. So it might be friends to lovers, which means the reader will know, oh, I love those kind of books because they were friends in high school, or maybe they're, best friends now, and then it develops into this beautiful love story, right? So there's always, what problem are you solving, and then how are you solving it? So maybe it's a book that's going to give people a cathartic cry, which is what some people are looking for in their entertainment. They're looking for a safe space to feel their feelings. If that's what you're selling, then the sales language is gonna reflect that. So distilling this whole giant book down to a little blurb or something is really about clarifying what your message is. And then if you're writing fiction, it's about writing it in a fun way that leads to a question. Will they get together? If it's romance, they will.
Right.
Then the reader needs to wonder, how are they going to miss out? They've hated each other since birth. How's she going to work that out, right? Then the question is how. If it's nonfiction and the book claims, I'm going to solve this problem, then you're buying it for the how.
Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. And so I'm my head is just spinning and saying, well, how we relate this back. And so this is, one of the things that I have noticed in working with creatives in marketing is that they hate actually the marketing speak of saying there's a problem here. They don't want to work with people with problems. And so I find that we have to reframe that a little bit in saying, what's the opportunity, or what's the opening, or what's, what is the driving need or desire that this person has that you actually deliver. Mm-hmm. And so I like, though, what you said sometimes is entertainment, because I wouldn't even necessarily call the need of entertainment a problem, right? And so I think that this is this little piece of reframe that is incredibly helpful to people with big hearts, because we want to, help people live their best lives. And then that kind of marketing language doesn't get anyone. They're like, okay, they don't know if this is for them, because we haven't identified specifically who it is that we're helping. Because of that, we're not getting deeply into, well, what's the issue here that would have someone show up and hang out in our space. And so I love that, talking about like romance novels, but even like talking about what Joanne does, which is spreading joy. There is actually an underlying problem in there that says there's not joy. People would come, they're seeking joy, they're seeking playfulness, they're seeking more fun, like life feels flat to them.
There you go. Yeah. So you're using all that sales language that goes back. Everything you said is sales language. Sales is nothing more than communicating with another person and saying, hey, I see you. right? So whether you're saying whatever language resonates with you, I see your desire, I see your need, I see your problem, and that's all going to attract different people in different spaces. And what you're saying though is, I see you, and I would love to make it better. I would love to help you.
Yeah.
I would love to, here, let me give you this, right?
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. I love that. I just want to hang out in that for a second. Because it is about settling in. So I'm curious for any of our watchers, and Joanne says that is actually so helpful. Thank you. I'm curious for any of you. I know that Beth, you've been in marketing, as you know, that's been her side career. No, that's been your main career. Now we're going to call it your side career in corporate marketing, because now your main career is in creating amazing things. I'm going to claim that for you, Beth. We'll see how that rolls. Is there any questions that you have about how you connect with your audience? Like, are there any things, especially when it comes to relationship building or newsletter writing or anything like that? Are there any questions that you have about that? Beth says her prior gig. Yeah, my prior gig. There you go.
That's past Beth.
Yeah, there you go.
That's past Beth. Future Beth is creative.
Yes. Inventor, creator. Exactly.
There you go. Yeah.
So if you have questions, feel free to pop those in here as well, and we'll answer them best we can. And if we're off here already and you have questions and you're watching this later, go ahead and put them in there, and we'll make sure to circle back and answer any of those questions as well. So you had told me when we talked one time, I'm just looking at my notes, that when you were looking at, even your personal goals about, say, marketing and building your business and that kind of thing, that building an audience and creating things that have ongoing support in them is one of the areas that you're really excited about, both doing in your own business as well as helping people with. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that looks like inside of a creative business?
As far as providing ongoing support to, can you refresh my memory just a little
sorry. Yeah, like, what are we talking about now? Yeah. So I actually want to talk about what it takes to have an ongoing audience, and what it takes to to have people stay in your world, stay there for a long time. We had talked in the world of books kind of like about series of books and how sometimes marketing them that way, but even for creative products that can, even if you're a painter, you could have a series of things, or like that kind of thing. Just what does it take in some senses for a creative to have ongoing relationships, ongoing business that keeps going and going?
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you. So in publishing, we call that a sticky readership, meaning they're going to stick with you. They come to you at some point in your career, but you're going to maintain a relationship with them and continue to nurture them. And then as books come out, or as you pivot your career, or you offer this new thing over here, then you have this group of people who are interested in it and still with you, and you still have contact with them, which is the magic of the newsletter. It's the magic of email marketing. Like, it's one of the few things you own and control. So you own and control your website. You own and control your presence. So like, whether you're getting on a virtual call with somebody, or you're doing a show and you're in person, you're doing a craft fair, or you're doing a speaking gig or a book signing, whatever, you control that, and you control your newsletter. And that's about it. We put all this time and effort into like cultivating these Facebook, Instagram audiences. We don't control those, right? And who sees what you post is controlled by an algorithm. Whereas when you are nurturing a relationship with somebody and there's no algorithm standing between you and deliverability, which is what happens when you land in somebody's inbox, it's a much stronger connection. And then you have the opportunity to nurture it. And so when I say nurture it, I mean continue to deliver value, continue to maintain that connection in a way that makes the other person feel good, right? So if you're an author, maybe one of the ways you do that is you start building this audience, yes, because you want them to read your book, but as you're doing it, maybe you decide, hey, you know what? I'm really into all this research I'm doing for this book, and so I'm going to build my message, my content around this research, this travel research that I'm doing, right? It's like travel, it's a travel book, and it might be fiction or nonfiction, but it's all these beautiful photos, and I'm going to do this research, and I'm going to build this audience that also loves those things, and I'm going to continue to deliver those things to them. If it's an audience that primarily reads mysteries, right, and you also write mysteries, but you read mysteries, it's easy to nurture that audience by saying, hey, I just read this great mystery this week, and you're just not even going to believe what happens. Here it is. And I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please let me know. Or if you don't enjoy it, let me know. But let's talk about it. I need to talk about it with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's just like you maintain that connection. And then when your next mystery comes out, you say, my next mystery is out.
Right. Well, see, this is exciting. Yeah, this is exciting because, most of the people I'm working with are creating games or decks, card decks, and some of them are also doing books. Like they have all of these different things coming out. And so all these things relate to, and I think that what this comes down to is being you, right? The thing that you're deeply interested in, bring that to your audience. And even if it's, if it's skiing or if it's mountain climbing or if it's, traveling or, whatever those things are, or even reading great books, like all those things, or doing other Oracle decks. I know some of you have like 50, 100 Oracle decks, like sharing some of the other ones that you like in between marketing when you have new things coming out, or when you have your next course coming out, or you have your next thing coming out, is that being fully you. I think that's really exciting.
And that is how you attract the people who are going to like what you produce, because what you produce, what you create comes from you. It comes from your soul. And the number one, I just want to drop this in, the number one mistake I see people make is they're just trying to do it right. And so they come to me because they want to know how to do it right. And the answer is inside you. How you do it right is you be you. You don't just copy, well, this person does this and she sounds like that, so I'm going to do it that way too. Well, she already exists. She's already filling her space in the universe. You need to fill your space.
That's beautiful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Joanne says, this is so timely and magical as I'm developing a lead magnet for my website and working on the opt-in page and newsletter. Awesome.
Yeah,
That is fabulous.
That's great.
And Daniela says, awesome insights. Connect with like-minded people and have a conversation about your common interests. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is exactly it. And especially when you're in development phase, I know some of the people inside my community are just, they're just starting their businesses, and they're like, okay, I'm creating. Well, there's a huge opportunity during that creating to both share your creative process and what you're doing, and pictures of your space and all the things you're doing, as well as everything else about you. And you get to draw where your boundary is. What do I share? Do I share about family? Do I share about personal stuff? Do I share about what I'm eating? Do I share, what do you want to share that is you will have in common with your audience, and you'll attract them?
Yeah. And people love to go on a journey.
Yeah.
That's why we like to read stories. People love to go on a journey, so take them on that journey with you.
And so even if you're creating something that's not a book at this time, then those stories hold it all together and keep the people interested in opening your emails.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because they want to hear the story.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Now you have actually something very special for all of our people today. You want to tell them about what it is?
Yes, I do. And I told you that this might happen, that as we talked, I might change up what's on the page based on what we talked about. So one of the things that I'm going to offer to everybody is my ditch overwhelm tips and tricks. Tricks to ditch overwhelm. So I'm going to add that right to the top of the page. I'll do that as soon as we get off the call. But like I said, one of the places that we get hung up is just too much, and we freeze. So what are some ways you can jiggle yourself out of that? And I deliver those tips every couple of days so that you have time to implement them and really put them into practice in your life. The other thing that I have is the 6-step newsletter makeover. So if you already have your newsletter, you're working on your lead magnet or getting things set up, I go through it's an e-course, and it'll walk you through the steps of crafting what I call your promise to the readers. So that's, what's my message? What am I all about? And I get into that right away because, like we talked about, I think it's the foundation. And then making sure that promise is in a place that people can find it, right? Because we all think, oh, well, I put it one spot and everybody's going to find it there. They are not. They're not going to. Right? It needs to be everywhere. And I talk about the places that you can put it. So I'm gonna give you guys those two things. And then also, if you are a fiction author, I have what to say in your author newsletter. So I've got that freebie in there too. So that's 3 different things. 1 about teaching overwhelm and 2 about newsletters. And I hope you guys check them out. I hope you enjoy them. And if you have questions, let me know.
Absolutely. And this used to let me drop my links here, and now it's not letting me do it. So I'll have to add that in just a second. That's so funny. Okay, so it's meljolly.com/Jean, Jean. Mel, you can see Mel's name on the screen, meljolly.com/Jean. That is where you'll find the link. I will put the live link in the feed as soon as I get off here. Of course, give her a couple minutes. She's gonna add. 2
of them are already on there, but
okay, good.
The one about ditching overwhelm.
So I will get that link in there in just a hot second. I don't know why. Technology changes like every time I come in here, and I'm like, okay, I got it all going, and they're like, oh, and I can't type. Okay, cool. We'll do that later. So I will throw that link in there in just a hot second, and give Mel a minute to get her Ditch the Overwhelm freebie in there as well. This has been so fun, and I know it's been incredibly helpful to all the people hanging out here with us. And if you're watching later, of course, and want to connect with Mel, you will find the link below. I'll also put it in the description as well, so you can find it there. And any last words of wisdom that you have for our creative marketers?
Yeah. What I always tell people to do is find joy in the journey. Because as creatives, our creativity is directly connected to our joy. So even as you're learning the new thing, or as you're getting the lead magnet up, or as you're making the art, or like just trying to figure out how you can do the day job and the creative job, and like then switch the 2 so that the other one is the side hustle, and find joy in the whole journey instead of looking forward and saying, well, when I get to do this full time, then I'll be happy. Find joy in the process, because it's all a process and it's not a destination.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That was amazing. I've so enjoyed having you on. I know everyone else. Joanne says, yes, joy in the journey. That's her deal. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you all for hanging out with us today. And you will be able to find Mel right in her link there as soon as I get it up. And have a beautiful day.
Thanks,
we'll see
everyone.
y'all soon.
And thanks, Jean. I really appreciate it.